is a content calendar a good idea? And I'll jump in and kind of hit off this one to start. And for me, I think it is a good idea to kind of plan everything out, having an idea of what you want to do and kind of structure it. I think a lot of people need the structure that kind of having a content calendar can bring. My biggest worry and pitfall that I think a lot of people could come into that is if you're not a structured person and you try to set yourself up with a content calendar and you miss a couple days. It's one of those things where people can kind of, just like a New Year's resolution, it's like you go work out 3 times and all of a sudden you stop and then it kind of goes away and you kind of give up on it because you missed a couple days. And so I think the biggest thing to do is when you're thinking about having a content calendar, it should just be like a consistency calendar. Like just try to be consistent and not try to think that I know Gary Vee preaches 8 pieces of content a day, and that might work for some people. But if you can try to do 2 or 3 pieces of content a week, and even if you only get 1, like, again, it's just trying to be consistent and don't give up on yourself because you missed a few days. And that's, I think, the thing that a lot of people will kind of stumble over. I'm like, oh man, I didn't do it these last couple of days, so it's like I might as well just stop and not worry about it. But it's like making yourself kind of get out there, do it. And even if you miss a couple of days, just try to get back up on the horse and do it again.
Yep. No, I think this is a great time of the year to talk about this because a lot of people, some people's business is extremely busy at this time of the year, and some people's business is a little bit slower at this time of the year. And a lot of times people, when they're slow, they're kind of like, oh, what can I do? But the reality is, if you have a good, in addition to a content calendar, I would say, because to me, they're kind of the same thing, I would have a social media or content scheduler so that when you do have time, you literally can sit down and you can schedule posts, because sometimes people don't have time every single day or 3 times a week or whatever. So what could help is if you have a scheduler where you could sit down when you do have a couple hours and maybe schedule a couple weeks in advance, so that you could then just forget about it and know that those posts are going to go out on a regular basis for the next couple weeks. So I think the idea of a content calendar is a great idea, but to me, I look at that as intermixed with a scheduler so that you could basically, when you have time, get ahead of the game. And then, hopefully you can stay a couple weeks out of the game when you can carve away some time. Because realistically, once a week gets started and it's busy, sometimes it's hard to break away 3 times a week to do a post. But if you have a moment and you can sit down and do that so that that, hey, I'm working a couple weeks in advance. That way, if you get busy, you still, when you get back to it, you still may only be 1 week in advance, but now you're scheduling the stuff for 2 weeks out or 3 weeks out. So it allows you to kind of get ahead and hopefully stay ahead. Even if you have a busy week, you're not missing posts.
No, for sure. I think obviously we use a scheduler, and that's one of those things for a few clients. It's you try to get those few weeks ahead, and whether it's something at the beginning of the month that you kind of, all right, the first week I'm going to set aside 2 hours and just use a scheduler, and I'm going to post something once a week or twice a week, and then I can forget about it for the whole month, which is nice. So having the use of some of that definitely helps. But yeah, and that in itself will help you be consistent, because then, like I said, you can just kind of, all right, let me focus on business and I don't have to do anything else.
Exactly. Right now. I know for me, I tend to, when I'm doing different things, I like to do it when I'm in the mindset. Like if I'm in a creative mindset, I like to dive in and spend a couple hours doing that and not be jumping around at different things. If you're the same way, the scheduler really benefits you, because when you're in that creative mindset, then you can get a couple weeks in advance and then focus on the operations of your business, or paying the bills or doing the work or whatever else you have going on. But you really have to kind of get in a mindset to create posts, and you don't want to do it as like a side thing, like, oh, in the middle of 5 other things I have going on, let me go ahead and post. I mean, you're probably not going to produce your best content when you're doing it that way.
We mentioned programs that you can use, but I think you can do this within a lot of the different social media apps. I know for YouTube, you can set up and either posted live or you can set it to go specific days. I do a lot of that for our cut up videos. I know for Facebook, you can schedule stuff within the app. I'm not sure about Twitter or LinkedIn, but I'm sure that if you dig long enough, you can find something that's similar to that.
Yeah.
I'm surprised that they didn't have a scheduler within the app for majority of all of them. So it's just a matter of finding it. And then that way, once you figure it out, I know within Facebook, you can go set up the different things and it's, so then you're not having to, there are, like, we use options where it has all the different social medias kind of bundled into one. You can kind of do it all, which is obviously essential for us to do our work. But if you're only focused on one, I think just kind of dive in and find out where I can do the scheduling within the social media apps.
Yeah. And again, we use a paid program to do ours, but I would not be surprised at all, especially if you're not doing a crazy amount of posting, that you can't find free schedulers online that you could utilize. Usually a lot of them have a free option, and until you get so large that you're managing too many profiles or things like that, it's a free option, and then it's a paid premium version. So take a look around just at social media schedulers. You probably can find a free one that can help you out a lot and help you get, stay ahead of the game with regard to your posts.